My name's Lori, and I'm 31 years old. I live with my husband Nick and his family, his mother and father. Life here is hard for me. I have a condition called total mutism, which means I can't talk at all. This condition was triggered by stress, and unfortunately, living here only makes things worse. Today started like any other day. My sister-in-law burst into the room, shouting angrily. She looked at Nick and asked sharply, "Who's supposed to protect Lori?" Nick hesitated, unsure of what to say. Before he could get a word out, she slapped him across the face. "Don't just stand there saying, answer me," she yelled. Nick tried to respond, but she raised her hand again as if ready to hit him a third time. He quickly stammered, "It's me. I'm the one who should protect her. I'm sorry." I stood there silently, watching the scene unfold. I wanted to speak up, but I couldn't. I've lived like this for a long time now, unable to defend myself or even express my feelings. Sometimes I feel invisible, like I'm just a shadow in this house. Living with my in-laws is a struggle. My mother-in-law often reminds me how much of a burden I am. "You can't even talk," she'll say with frustration. "You're such an inconvenience. What kind of wife can't even communicate?" Her words hurt, but I don't have the ability to respond, so I simply lower my head and carry on. Tonight, like every night, I was in the kitchen preparing dinner. Cooking is one of the few things I can do to contribute, even if I never get any credit for it. My mother-in-law acts like she's the one doing everything. When Nick came home, she greeted him with a smile and said, "Oh, dinner's ready. Doesn't it smell amazing?" Nick smiled and said, "It smells great. Is it curry tonight? I'm so hungry." But then my mother-in-law added, "Don't let the smell fool you. You never know what's in it. I'd better taste it first, just to be safe." Her words stung. She always makes it seem like I can't be trusted, even with something as simple as cooking. Nick didn't say anything to defend me. He never does. He just sat down at the table and started eating after his mother gave her approval. I served everyone quietly, as usual, and then sat at the corner of the table, eating my own meal in silence. No one noticed me. No one thanked me. Sometimes I dream of leaving this house and starting over somewhere else. But where would I go? My parents passed away when I was young, and I have no other family to turn to. Without a voice, I can't get a job or live on my own. So, for now, I'm stuck here, enduring this life because I have no other choice. I would never put anything bad in the food. Why would I? But tonight, my mother-in-law decided to make a big scene again. "Oh no, what is this?" she exclaimed, glaring at the curry I made. "What's wrong with it?" Nick asked, concerned. "It's disgusting." "Nick, don't eat it," she shouted before flipping the entire plate of curry into the sink. Not stopping there, she grabbed the pot of curry and dumped that into the sink too. I froze, watching helplessly. She turned to me with a sharp look. "What's with that expression? Are you trying to tell me I'm wrong?" she snapped. "This food is terrible, obviously. No one should eat something like this." Then she sighed dramatically and said, "Poor Nick, having to put up with a wife who's such a terrible cook. I wish she could cook well, like me." Nick looked upset. "Mom, I was hungry. You shouldn't waste food like that." She ignored his frustration and said sweetly, "Oh, I know you're such a kind boy, Nick. But this isn't my fault. It's Lori's. She's the one who wasted all the food by cooking something so awful." Her words stung. I wasted food? I thought to myself. How can she blame me when she's the one who threw it away? She clapped her hands together suddenly, as if a brilliant idea had struck her. "Let's order Nick's favorite sushi tonight." "That's a great idea," Nick said hesitantly. "Oh, but I won't order any for you, Lori," she added, her tone sharp. This wasn't the first time, nor would it be the last. Days like this happened over and over again. I kept quiet because I had no other choice. My condition, total mutism, left me unable to defend myself. One day, after weeks of enduring this treatment, I suddenly fell ill. My body couldn't take the stress anymore. The one saving grace in my life was my sister-in-law, Sydney. She didn't live with us but visited me every once in a while, and I looked forward to her visits more than anything else. "Hello, Lori. How are you feeling? Sydney asked gently as she entered my room. She was always kind and understanding, the only person in the house who seemed to care about me. I smiled weakly. Sydney sat beside me, her presence a comforting reminder that not everyone in the family treated me badly. I hope you feel better soon, she said warmly. I really hope you'll be able to speak again one day. Then she pulled something out of her bag. Oh, by the way, I brought this for you. It was a wedding invitation. She was getting married. I couldn't speak, so I smiled brightly and clapped my hands for her. It was my way of congratulating her. Thank you, Lori, she said, beaming. I met a wonderful man at work. I really want you to come to the wedding. Please make sure you're there, okay? Her words touched me deeply. Sydney had taken time out of her busy life to hand me this invitation personally, and she genuinely wanted me to be part of her special day. That evening, however, my mother-in-law was furious when she found out. Of course, we'd be invited to Sydney's wedding, she fumed. But why on earth would she invite Lori? It doesn't make sense. I overheard her words from my room, and they stung just as much as the other things she said about me. Even a happy moment like this couldn't escape her cruelty. But no matter what she said, I decided I would go to the wedding. For once, I wanted to feel included and part of something special. Sydney's kindness reminded me that not everyone thought of me as worthless. I guess it's because she's my wife, Nick said with a shrug. But it's not like she had to be invited. My mother-in-law chimed in, her tone sharp. Just because they're relatives doesn't mean they all need to come. Isn't it normal to invite only the important ones? Nick nodded, agreeing with her. Yeah, I guess so. She's just too nice. That's the problem, my mother-in-law continued. She probably felt she had no choice but to invite her. Honestly, she's too sweet for her own good. Unlike my mother-in-law or husband, Sydney, my sister-in-law, is nothing like them. She's kind and caring, more like my father-in-law, who is calm and fair. She's always treated me with respect, and for that I'm grateful. The day of Sydney's wedding finally came. I was excited to celebrate this special day for her, but while I was in the bathroom, my mother-in-law and Nick left without me. When I came out, I realized they were gone. They didn't even bother to tell me they were leaving. My heart sank. I couldn't understand why they would treat me this way, especially on such an important day. As I sat in silence, a thought crossed my mind. Why am I still holding on to them? My illness, total mutism, has made me believe I need them to survive, but maybe I don't. There are support centers and organizations that help people with disabilities. Perhaps I could find a job, even without being able to talk. Yes, I'll get a divorce. The thought brought me a sense of relief. I couldn't keep living like this, enduring their constant cruelty. But before I left this toxic family for good, I wanted to celebrate Sydney's wedding. She had been so kind to me, and I couldn't miss her special day. Determined, I grabbed my bag and headed to the train station. Once there, I took a cab. I typed the wedding venue's address into my phone and showed it to the driver. He nodded and drove me there. When I arrived, I found a seat quietly among the guests. As soon as my mother-in-law noticed me, her face twisted in annoyance. She rolled her eyes, and Nick laughed under his breath. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. I looked at her silently, unable to respond. "What's that look for?" she snapped. "You can't talk, so now you're giving me some kind of attitude? You've got such a twisted personality. You weren't even supposed to be here, so we left you behind. And yet here you are, ruining the day. What a pain." Before she could continue, a relative nearby intervened. "Oh, come on, that's enough. She's here now. Let's all focus on celebrating Sydney's new life. Look, the ceremony is about to start." I ignored my mother-in-law's cruel words and focused on the reason I was there. Sydney. She looked stunning in her wedding dress, her face glowing with happiness. Seeing her so radiant made me smile. This was her day, and I wouldn't let anyone ruin it for her. Not even my in-laws. Sitting there, I made up my mind. This was the last time I would endure their cruelty. After the wedding, I would take steps to build a new life for myself, one where I could find peace and dignity. But for now, I pushed those thoughts aside and focused on Sydney's joy. Her happiness was worth it. As I watched my sister-in-law during the wedding, I couldn't help but admire her. She looked so beautiful and happy that, for a moment, I forgot about my mother-in-law and husband. The warmth and joy in the room made me feel at ease, even if just for a little while. After the candlelight ceremony, there was a short break, so I decided to approach Sydney, my sister-in-law. I smiled at her and clapped my hands softly to show my admiration. She noticed me immediately and smiled warmly. "Lori, thank you so much for coming today," she said kindly. I took out my phone and typed a message, showing it to her. She read it and nodded enthusiastically. "Of course. Let's take a picture together," she said, her voice full of excitement. Sydney is such a kind and understanding person. She doesn't need me to speak to know how I feel. She always seems to understand me perfectly, even without words. Her warmth and empathy are things I've rarely experienced in this family. It made me happy to share this moment with her. As we talked, some of her friends came over to the table. I bowed politely and returned to my seat, not wanting to take up too much of her time. But as I sat down, my mother-in-law appeared in front of me with a glass of wine in her hand. She looked straight into my eyes and then, without warning, poured the wine upside down onto my chair. I stared at her in shock. "What is she doing?" She smirked and said mockingly, "Oh no, I spilled my wine. What a shame. I guess there's no seat for you now. You should just go home." Before I could react, some staff members rushed over to bring me a new chair. But my mother-in-law waved them away. "Don't bother. She's leaving anyway. Go back to your other tasks," she said coldly. My husband stood nearby, laughing quietly. He didn't even try to stop her or defend me. I felt humiliated and angry. All I wanted was to celebrate Sydney's special day. That was the only reason I came. I realized I had done what I came for, and there was no reason for me to stay any longer. I turned my back on them and started walking toward the exit. Before I could leave, I felt a hand grab my arm. I turned to see Sydney standing there, her face full of concern. "Wait a minute," she said softly. Seeing the desperate look in her eyes, I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. They started flowing uncontrollably. "It's okay," she said, pulling me into a gentle hug. "I'm so sorry, Lori. I didn't realize what was happening before." She let go of me and turned her attention to my mother-in-law and Nick. Her expression changed from gentle to furious as she marched up to them. Without hesitation, she slapped Nick hard across the face. "Nick, you're supposed to protect Lori," she yelled. Nick stammered, But Sydney didn't let him finish. She slapped him again. "Don't you dare say, Answer me. Who should protect Lori's?" Nick looked down, his voice shaking. It's me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "That's right. It's you. Then what were you doing just now?" "Laughing while your wife was being humiliated," she shouted. Nick mumbled something, but Sydney didn't wait for him to finish. She slapped him again, this time on his other cheek. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was laughing. I shouldn't have. I'm sorry." Nick cried, his tears falling as he apologized. I watched the scene in disbelief, overwhelmed by Sydney's fierce defense of me. For the first time, someone had stood up for me in this family, and it gave me the courage to believe I deserved better. I couldn't help but laugh a little at my sister-in-law Sydney's relentless scolding of Nick and my mother-in-law. But while I found it amusing, Sydney was completely serious. She wasn't just angry. She was standing up for me in a way no one ever had. Every word she said for my sake, and I felt deeply grateful. She was saying everything I had been holding inside for so long but couldn't express myself. I couldn't raise my voice, much less my hand, against my in-laws, but Sydney had no such limitations. She didn't hesitate. Nick tried to lighten the mood. "Oh, come on. There's no need to be so angry," he said with a nervous laugh. "I was just being a little playful, right, Lori?" I stared at him without reacting. Playful? How could he call what they'd done to me playful? Sydney's voice cut through the tension. "Playful? Lori can't even talk anymore because of you too. Did you ever stop to think about what you've done to hers?" My mother-in-law shot me a nasty glare, as if daring me to speak. Of course, I couldn't, but Sydney didn't let her off the hook. Sydney laughed bitterly. Don't even try it. It's obvious you're the ones at fault here. Just look at the situation. It's all you're doing, and now you're trying to act innocent. You're horrible, both of you. Then she turned to me, her tone softening. Lori, I'll get you a new seat. Please stay until the end of the ceremony. I'll handle these two. True to her word, Sydney had the wedding staff escort my mother-in-law and Nick out of the venue. I'm sorry for the disturbance, she said to the guests, her voice calm yet firm. Now that the troublemakers are gone, let's all enjoy the rest of the ceremony. I didn't return to the house after the wedding. Sydney acted quickly, and before the day was over, she had made arrangements for me. She contacted a real estate agent she knew and found me an apartment. It was company housing connected to her husband's business, and she offered it to me rent-free. After confirming my intentions, I told Sydney I wanted a divorce. She didn't hesitate to support me. She found me a lawyer and helped me through every step of the process. With her help, the divorce went smoothly. Sydney also made sure I got what I deserved. She pushed for alimony from both Nick and my mother-in-law. According to the lawyer, they had to pay more than the usual amount because their actions were directly responsible for my illness. Their mistreatment had caused me so much harm, and Sydney made sure they were held accountable. For months after the divorce, my life started to change for the better. While there is no cure for my condition, the symptoms became more manageable. Without the constant stress and cruelty of my in-laws, I began to heal, both physically and emotionally. Sydney didn't just save me from a toxic environment. She gave me a new chance at life. I'll always be grateful to her for standing by me when no one else would. Thanks to her, I'm finally free to live a life of my own choosing. I don't know when my symptoms might return, but for now, I feel free. The main source of my stress, my husband and mother-in-law, is no longer in my life. With them gone, I hope the symptoms of my illness never come back. They wanted to see me to apologize, but I refused. I don't ever want to see their faces again or hear their voices. They caused me too much pain, and I've decided to move forward without them. Lori, are you ready? My sister-in-law Sydney called out. Yes, I'm ready, sister, I replied, giving her a nod. Okay, let's go, she said with a smile. I'm starting a new chapter of my life with Sydney and her husband. They've offered me an amazing opportunity. I'm moving to New York to work as a nanny and helper for their family. Sydney is 4 months pregnant, and once the baby is born, she plans to return to work. She needed someone she could trust to help with the baby, and she asked if I would take the job. I agreed without hesitation. Sydney's kindness has changed my life, and I'm excited to support her and her growing family. I'll make sure you're registered as an employee at my husband's company, she had said when we first talked about the idea. That way, we can apply for your visa when the time comes. Thank you so much, I replied, feeling overwhelmed with gratitude. Looking back, I never imagined my life would take such a turn. Just a few months ago, I felt trapped and hopeless. Now, I'm filled with excitement for the future. I can't wait to start this new journey, and for the first time in a long time, I feel happy. Sydney often tells me how awful my mother-in-law was. That woman is pure evil, Lori. She pushed you so far that you couldn't even speak anymore. And Nick, how pathetic he is, just standing by and laughing while she mistreated you.
She's right.
My mother-in-law's cruelty and my husband's failure to defend me broke me. But Sydney's kindness and support have helped me heal. I'm so grateful for her. Without her, I don't know where I'd be today. As we prepare to leave, I feel a sense of peace I haven't felt in years. The worst part of my life is behind me now. I have a fresh start and the chance to build a life filled with purpose and joy. I hope you'll spend the rest of your life smiling, Lori, Sydney said one day, her words warm and sincere. I smiled back at her, feeling that, for once, it was truly possible. If my story teaches anything, it's that even in the darkest moments, there can be light. Sometimes, all it takes is one kind person to make a difference. For me, that person was Sydney. I'll forever be grateful for her love and support. Thank you for reading my story. If you liked it, please consider subscribing to the channel. See you next time.